The truth is, Chelsea fans, there's two sides to the argument when it comes to opinions on Chelsea. There's praise, there's criticism, but there's different levels of both. There's different levels of criticism. Some that's sane, some that seems a little bit harsh, and some that are just extreme. And as we all know with the Chelsea fan base on social media, whoever they are, whether they're keyboard warriors or people that have been supporting the club for years or just for a couple of years, there's different levels of criticism that goes too far. But is some of it justified, but just not in the right way? So what I'm going to try and do is look at the scenario with Chelsea as it is as a football club right now, how we're playing, and try and see it from both sides of the argument so you guys can make up your own mind whether or not the criticism is justified but in the right way, or if it's what we're reading being so harsh and so unfair is actually justified, or whether or not there should be more praise for what we're doing. So let's start with the phrase, Chelsea should be challenging for the Premier League title. Now, before I get into this, I just want to talk about the human element here and human behaviour. Now, when I say that, I'm talking about the fact that most people probably walk around with a glass half full, or maybe 3/4 full. How many people are actually truly happy on a day-to-day basis in this world with working and whatever? If you are, good luck to you, 100%. If you're quarters, 3/4, then fair play. But we are a human race that we like to criticise. We like to have a bit of a whinge and a bit of a moan. Now, whether it's the fact that you work all week and you have a crap time at work, or you have a bad day or an off day or a couple of bad days, what you do is you go to football or you tune in to watch the football wherever you are in the world, looking for your team to give you some inspiration and a good performance and get a good win, good victory, a cup win, whatever it's going to be, to lift your spirits, because that's what you look forward to the most during the course of the week, or if it's a midweek game, the course of a couple of days. You build yourself up. You build the game up, the importance of the game. You see the potential of what we can do, and then you see a bad performance and it just ruins your weekend, because that's what we like. That's how just the human element of everything, the emotion, everything just goes by. That's just what it is. What I will also say is the fact that every single person on this planet has a thing called a conscience. Before we get into all this truth and honesty and that sort of stuff and the criticism and the praise, we've all got a conscience. And we all know right from wrong. We all know if we're being out of order. We all know if we've gone a step too far. We know if we're being great, and we know if we're being just fantastic. Our conscience will tell us, that little voice in your ear or on your shoulder will say to you, that's really good what you just did then. But on the other side, what you just did was a bit harsh, a bit wrong. We all know right from wrong. And we all know with emotion that we react to certain situations. And that's what we're talking about. When it comes to the criticism of Chelsea, it's just trying to understand, is it justified, but in a different way, meaning not as extreme as it can be, but it's justified. Most of it, I'd imagine, probably is. But is it also going too far? And should we be praising things a lot more? So starting with that phrase, we should be challenging for the Premier League title, that's based on what we know, what we've been used to for the last 2 decades. The most successful English football team there is over the last 2 decades and the amount of trophies we've won. But that was a different time, a different era. The squad's completely changed. You know, the ownership's changed. The hierarchy at the football club's changed. We've had different managers along the way since then. And times are very, very different. Now, we all live in a world where we want results right now. And it'll be great if we got them, 100%. But what you have to understand is, you look back to the Chelsea time with Jose Mourinho when he came in, because that's when we won the Premier League for the first time in 50 years. That's when things really began to kick on, as we all know. That was the start of the 2 decades worth of dominance. But that squad, that nucleus of that squad was already being built the season before with all the money, with the money come in. You know, your likes of your Joe Cole, your Glenn Johnson, your Claude Makelele, your Damien Duff. People like that were already being bought and being implemented into the Chelsea squad. And when Jose Mourinho come in, there was 4 or 5 added to that squad. And that was the basis of the squad that then kicked on over the next 3 or 4 or 5 seasons before it began to break up and was just rejuvenated time and time again. But it was built over a period of time. It's just a situation where you look at Man City, look at Liverpool, even look at the Arsenal now. Man City under Guardiola have begun to put a squad together and make little adaptations to it, little tweaks to it over the course of the time. And he's now got the nucleus of a squad that's been there, that's done it over the last 3 or 4, 5 seasons. He adds a few in, a couple go out. And the same with Liverpool. Jurgen Klopp took time to build a squad together to compete. Believe it or not, Arteta's beginning to do that over the last 2 or 3 seasons at the Arsenal. Things are changing with different players, but the nucleus is beginning to be there. And that's why they're up there challenging, because they've built the squad over time. Chelsea need time to do that, and we're beginning to do that, despite the fact that we can all agree, whether it's, if you want criticism, Todd Bowley and the ownership, what they tried to do at Chelsea when they first walked in the door was an absolute joke. We all know that. There's no argument with that. How on earth you can give a manager 35 players to deal with on a weekly basis, knowing that, 23 of them, 24 of them are not going to start, and you've got to try and make the others that are not on the bench happy by saying to them, by the way, you're not going to be involved this week, have the time off, have the weekend off. Stupid situation, should never have been in it, and hopefully they've learnt their lesson. But that's what we need to establish right now, is that we're nowhere near going for the Premier League title. Give us 2 or 3 seasons and these players to grow together and add a couple, sell a couple, but add a couple that are going to come in for a period of time to bolster and improve the options that we've got, and we will be back up there. But it takes time. So the criticism now saying we should be up there challenging is based on the past, and we need to take a step forward. I get why people say it, because some people might have only supported Chelsea, or they were only old enough to know about football when Chelsea was successful. They were born in the end of the 90s, early 2000s, and that's all they know. All I'd say is you need to look at Chelsea's history. Look at the 80s, look at the 90s, look at the early noughties, and you'll see that Chelsea was a club that was trying to progress. The stadium was being built and constructed around. The squad was trying to improve over time and time again, and eventually we got there. I'm not saying it's going to be as long as that, 30-odd years or 3 decades, but we now got a squad where hopefully maybe 3 or 4 seasons' time, we should be right up there dominating if we can keep the squad together. And that's the positive of it. But I do get the negative side of it, and people saying we should be challenging now. I get it, because that's what they're used to. So Pochettino's criticism. Now, I get it. Again, but because of the bar. The bar that's been raised over a period of time, he needs to be up there. So the positive side of the argument with Pochettino is one question that you have to ask yourself at the beginning of the season. Based on where we were last year, the squad, the club itself finishing bottom half, nowhere really. Is there any improvement this season? We got a game in hand. We could go up. I think we're something like 4 points off 7th in the Premier League. We could then push on again. We've got a chance to get into the Europa Conference League. We haven't won that yet. We've won everything else. May as well try and win that. But that's something that I said beginning of the season. If we can get anywhere near European competition, a top half finish and a good cup run, it'll be great, based on where we were last year. So the positive spin on that is we got to the cup final against Liverpool. Yes, we know, should have won it, threw it away. We know what happened. We're in a cup semi-final against Man City, and we could turn them over on our day. We know what we're capable of. But is there improvement in the Chelsea squad under and our current standing and the way we're playing and our results compared to last season? Yes, there is. But the criticism comes because we're still trying to find the best starting 11. We're still trying to find a pattern of play that's consistent. We're still trying to find consistency. And also some team selections and maybe some substitutions don't quite sit right with everybody, highlighting Mykhailo Mudryk coming off against the other day against what's their face, Leicester, and Raheem Sterling staying on the pitch when he's having a stinker of a game, let's be honest. Now, I get and I agree with the criticism of that, because Mykhailo Mudryk was having one of the most influential games he's had as a Chelsea player, and Chelsea fans were loving it. Great to see. We all want him to do well. Everyone's rooting for the guy, and he's playing really well. He's having a real influence in games. He's nutmegging players. He's driving forward. He's having shots. He's trying to play people in. He's playing really, really well, and he gets taken off because Raheem Sterling stays on, and we all know that Sterling had an absolute stinker. Now, the reason that people criticise Pochettino for that is because I agree with him, because Mikhailo Mudryk should have stayed on, Sterling should have come off. 100% agree with it. There's no different argument. I don't think anybody else on the planet would turn around and say that that was the right decision. So you do get the criticism of Pochettino. But when you hear Chelsea fans sing "You don't know what you're doing," is that just in that instance? It probably applies, but it come across as more of a general feeling from a section of Chelsea fans, and I'm not sure that's right. Let's just say that. But I mean, what do you feel about that? Do you feel as though it's justified? Do you agree with me about the Mudryk and Sterling situation? So the criticism of Raheem Sterling, I get it, because we've seen him consistent at Man City over a period of time. So you expect him to come to Chelsea and do the same thing. That's human nature. You expect the same. And if we don't get the same, why are we not getting the same? We're going to lash out and criticise. Some of the criticism has just gone to the extreme, because that's just human nature, the way the world works at the minute. For some reason, we live in a world where you're too scared to say boo to a goose and say anything. But when it comes to people like that, on a football pitch, you've got free will to say what you want. And there's no comeback on it. Yes, he needs to be criticised to say, look, what are you doing there? Why are you taking that ball off of Palmer? He should have the penalty. Why are you taking that free kick? You know, you missed an absolute sitter, but you did have a good assist. So keep going. You want to back our players. And that's the other side of the argument, is no matter what, they wear the blue shirt, you should go out there and you should support them. Because these are the players that are going to win the game for us on the pitch at that one moment in the game. Whoever comes on, whoever starts in the blue Chelsea shirt, should receive the full backing of all the supporters around the world. But as again, human nature, we get disappointed if people are not doing what they should be doing and how good we all know they can be. So there's both sides of it. I'll just say I agree with the fact that he was criticised because he was having a stinker and he should have come off. Sterling, if they hold him off, there'll be an argument that it'll just make his confidence go down. So maybe Pochettino thought, I've got to keep him on to try and see, can I maybe turn things around in game for the positive? Maybe he can get on the score sheet and just change his fortunes and end on a high. I don't know. But again, different sides of the argument. Then you've got the Robert Sanchez situation. And I get it again, because you've seen the guy so just laid back, he's almost falling over. You know, when he's got someone closing him down, he's got the ball at his feet, you're like, kick it, for God's sake, just get rid of it. And he takes forever, and you just think, what are you doing? You're causing our own problems. You know, the own goal, Dizazi has got criticism for that. But again, Sanchez, what is he doing on the edge of his box in the D when the ball's gone backwards into our own half, like nearly halfway inside our own half? Why are you still there? Get yourself in a position where you can make yourself available for Dizazi to pass the ball back to you, like you did for the most part the rest of the game. That one moment, Dizazi's been hammered for it. I blame the keeper. He should have been there to make himself available. So he's not doing himself any favours, and he's getting criticism as well because the goalkeeper was probably one of the most important positions on the football pitch, because if he has a stinker, you're going to lose the game. If he's got no confidence, then that feeds on to the defenders and everyone gets a bit jumpy. So you need a goalkeeper to be authoritative, which he was for the most part. But when he comes out diving for balls and misses them completely, when he does that, just stands in a stupid position and we score an own goal from it. When he just takes forever to get the ball out of his feet and just kick the ball away, I get the criticism, because I think the same, 100% the same. But the other side of the argument is that going to help the guy's confidence when he's trying to impress coming into the team, because he's lost his place to Georgi Petrovic, who's done great for me, Petrovic. So that's the other side of the argument. Is it justified? Yes. Should it be as extreme as it was? No. But it does need to be said. But again, the other side of it is, let's try and keep the guy, build his confidence up. Because again, when he steps on that football pitch, he's representing us. We want him to play well. So the nature is, when he doesn't, we go off the handle. We just need to understand, should you go that far, or just make a point of saying, look, awful game. And, you know, I'm sure the manager and his coaching team, goalkeeping coach, have said to him, look, put that game to one side, put it to bed, let's move forward. Let's focus on what you did well, and let's just move forward. You know, that's what I'd imagine they do. So when it comes to Chelsea's results over the course of the season, Again, because of that mentality, because we're so used to seeing Chelsea be successful, dominate for 2 decades. And when we have a great performance, you're like, come on, we know we can play this well. This is great. This is good. And then the next week, it's dire. It's because it's a team and a squad, a young squad that needs to get used to each other, get used to the Premier League. And this is the positive side of the argument. They need time to just get used to everything and playing together. The team keeps chopping and changing because of injuries. If we had one full season with everybody fit and no injuries, it would be different. Reece James, Chilwell, Nkunku, Lavia in there as well. It'll be completely different. And Chelsea would have consistency because they'll build over time through the course of the season. So we've had to chop and change a lot with our defensive line. We've had to chop and change players. You're always going to get maybe one change. But you like to see Chelsea keep the same strongest 11 they've got available at the moment now between now and the end of the season and kick on. But they don't. And that's where the consistency suffers. So can the manager pick the same 11 week in, week out? I mean, there's been a couple of players that have been out injured again. You know, they come in, Nkunku come in, made an appearance or two, out injured again. You know, Chilwell, you hope that Chilwell's going to be okay. He didn't start the other day. He had a bit of a knock, but you hope he's going to be fine again. But even though he's gone to England, which makes no sense. But it's just, we have to get ourselves in the mindset of we are a team that's trying to build to be back where we used to be. And as soon as we get in that mindset and understand that this is a young squad that's trying to work together, get used to the Premier League first and foremost, because there is a saying that foreigners need to take a year to get used to the Premier League. That was the general consensus. We're not even giving them that amount of time. We're giving them a couple of months and we're on them. So I get why we criticise at times because we're frustrated. Whether it's been our week at work or just life in general is getting to you, and you go to football as a release and you want to see the team play well and they don't, and you just lash out because you're just fed up. It's just topped your week off. I get that. Or whatever situation you're in. But also you need to then just calm yourself a little bit on the other side of the argument and say, is there still progress from last year? Yes, there is. Can we still kick on, put a run of results together over the next 3 games and push ourselves up to 7th and really get on the edge of that European competition heading into the final couple of months of the Premier League season? Yes, we can. So there's always going to be bumps along the way. We're not going to have an invincible season like the Arsenal did. I don't think we're ever going to see that ever again. So we're never going to go through a season without losing games. So we have to understand that that's going to happen. We have to get used to that situation and just say, right, let's go again. Let's get behind the players. Burnley, United, Sheffield United. Let's get behind the players. Man City in the FA Cup semi-final, and let's see what happens. If we take a severe nosedive and lose every single game between now and the end of the season and we end up back in the bottom half of the table, then criticism will be justified. But there is progress there. People are beginning to play better. We're seeing little bits at times of patterns of play that's good. We're scoring goals. Last year we couldn't hit a cow's arse with a banjo. The past 2 seasons we're struggling for goals. We're scoring plenty of goals now. We're creating plenty of chances. That's the positive. The criticism comes when we can't take those chances, but it will come. It will change. So I get the both sides of the argument, and that's pretty much the truth of it, both sides. Criticism is justified at times, not to the levels it's gone to, but it is justified at times. But you also need to see the other side of the argument and the positive. Thanks for watching. If you like the video, drop a like on it, subscribe to the channel. See you soon.